Happy Wednesday. Welcome to Send It In, presented by BetMGM here on the BetQL Network. Another great day live from the Mandalay Bay Casino here in Las Vegas, counting down the days to Super Bowl 58 between the Chiefs and the 49ers. We got a great show on tap for you guys today. We're going to talk some college hoops. We got a good slate. We're going to look forward to the Golf Waste Management Open this week, dive into some Super Bowl props as well. Kate Constable will join me later on in the show, and then we'll give out some best bets for the day. But kicking off the show today is Glasses in Session. We have a special guest. Annie Agor joins me, NFL correspondent at Stadium and content creator. Annie, it's great to see you. You've been a fan for a long time. How are you?
Well, thank you. Thanks for having me on. I'm honored. Honored to be here.
How's the week going so far?
It's been good. It's been busy, but more a lot of editing and kind of the backside of busy. I think it picks up tomorrow, today and tomorrow.
Oh, big time.
Radio Row gets kind of crazy, and yeah, we're not going to sleep for a couple days.
So we'll break down the Super Bowl. I want to get your thoughts on the Packers too and the NFC North, because I know you're a big Packers fan. But I just want to talk about like the content that you make, the NFL Zoom meetings, because obviously every time I go on TikTok, Instagram, I see the videos.
I'm so sorry.
How did that come about? Like, what was the point where you were like, you know what, I think people would really enjoy this?
Yeah, I think that plays into why these have been so successful, is because it was the timing of it. It was during COVID. It was 2020. I got on TikTok for the first time, and I thought to do this Big Ten video about how the Big Ten would be getting football back up and running, because COVID was such kind of a down time and nobody was laughing. And I thought we needed a little comedic relief. So I didn't even script out the video or anything. I just got on TikTok, had this idea, knew as a sports fan what I missed, because we didn't have sports to talk about. Spring games were starting up, but we didn't even have that. So I put it together, a little Big Ten meeting, and it had 3 million views overnight. And I thought, okay, let's bring this to the NFL, because that's my wheelhouse.
Yep.
And I did a series out of it, and here we are today.
That's awesome. What's the process that goes into it? Like, are you watching NFL Sunday with your laptop out, and when you see something or like a storyline, are you like, ooh, that'd be good?
That's exactly.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, it's people might not know how much research goes into it, because I can make jokes all day long that I think are funny, but obviously they're going to have bias to them. So I want to make jokes that are inside jokes to each fan base. So I try to research as much as I can about, like you said, I'll watch all the games, take notes of what's going on in the game, but then I'll go deeper and find, how that refers to a play that happened years ago, or something that each fan base would reference in relation to that. So it's a lot of research, but it's so much fun. And the jokes kind of come as I'm filming the video too. So I don't even script out half of it. Yeah. I'll just be in the middle of making the video, and I'm like, okay, well, we got to reference this, because I know this is going to be funny for that fan base. So yeah, it's a lot of time and a commitment, but I absolutely love it.
How long would you say like the average video takes you? Because I don't think people realize that, how much writing you have to do, and then all the different jerseys you have to get in, the script. Does it take you like 3 hours? Like, is it that long?
It's so the research. So I wake up Monday and I research for about 7 hours. I go game by game. Go over all my notes from Sunday, and then kind of elaborate on those and look for jokes that I can fit in there, and try to tie different things that happen to different games together, so I can kind of have some semblance of a meeting in my notes. And then I shoot the video for about 3.5 hours, sometimes 4, try to get it done by Monday Night Football, watch Monday Night Football, go back and shoot things from that. And then I wake up at 3 and start editing to hopefully get it out, because I do a couple of versions of editing. So I hopefully get it out by noon or 1 Central Time. And yeah, it's a process, but I'm telling you what, when fans comment that this, made their day, or, it's exactly how they felt, it makes all the work worth it.
Yeah, you really hit each fan base. I love watching the videos and being like, you know what, I forgot that happened on Sunday. Good. It's really good. Do you have a personal favorite video that you have done? Like, is there one that sticks out?
That's a great question. You know what? Recently, and I can tell on TikTok, if the video does really well on TikTok, I know that it's a good video, because it takes a lot for TikTok to go viral to the point where it gets, 5 million views. And the most recent one I did, it was the conference championship game. Was it the conference? It may have been the one before, actually. I said the Bills, when they went wide right again, I said something about they were expanding the suites at the Chiefs stadium because it has to fit all these Taylor Swift celebrities and everything like that. And I said, so we're going to use the Bills suites for reference because they're so wide, right? And that was the closing line. And a lot of people, it took them a second to get it. And once they did, I think that was my favorite video.
That's a good
those
one.
Subtle little ones I love.
That's a good one. What does your closet look like? How many jerseys, shirts have you counted? Like, how many you have of the different teams?
It's overflowing. So I originally only had the jerseys that I had from growing up, and like the Peyton Manning, all your typical jerseys. And then teams started getting smart, and their fans apparently were messaging them saying, hey, it's like, she's not repping our team well enough. Go get her a jersey. So then I had a couple teams reach out. And then there were certain teams that I was sticking with the tape on logos because it just fit. Like the Jets having a falling off logo just made sense.
Right.
So I held out on a lot of them, but then NFL Shop got involved and they sent me a bunch of stuff. Homage is a clothing brand. They sent me a bunch of shirts. So I have duplicates of different ones, which is good because like I have a t-shirt for one of the coaches that I act out in the skit, and then I'll wear the jersey for the actual team. So I haven't counted exactly, but there are quite a few.
Do you organize it by like color or by like, do you start with like alphabetical? Like, is it the Bears, the Browns, the Bucks?
Oh,
or
that's
do you
a good question. I've never thought about that. It's more so conference because I'll try to lump, like when I make a joke about a team, I usually have a team that's in their division make that joke. Because then it's funnier, like the Falcons and Saints going at it just makes sense because you think that's what would happen in real life.
Yeah.
So I think I organize the shirts based on, either division or conference or who would make fun of who so that I can go through them quicker.
I got
That's
you.
a great question. I never thought about that one.
So you're a Packers fan.
Yes.
Living in Chicago. There's a guy at this network, Ryan Horvath, who is the same thing. He talks about that all the time. He's like, there are not many of us.
Enemy territory.
Yeah, so what is that like, being a Packers fan in Chicago?
I've gotten yelled at bars before. No, not that bad. Ironically, there are a lot of Wisconsin and Packers bars in Chicago. But I have walked into bars before in my Packers jersey, and you get a couple looks. I honestly think Lions fans get it worse from what I've seen in Chicago. And maybe people know my videos, so they don't give me a bunch of crap for it. But yeah, it's a very hostile environment. I will say that.
So we got a question from somebody on Twitter. Lush Philbin wants to know, you were talking about the Lions. Who do you think gets to the Super Bowl first, the Lions or the Packers?
Here's the thing. I have a place in my heart for Detroit. I was born in Detroit. My brother's a huge Detroit Lions fan. I wanted them so badly to make it this year. So many things have to go right to get to where they got to. You can improve your secondary in the draft. You can fix whatever. You've made it so far in the postseason that affects your. Luckily, Aaron Glenn and Ben Johnson are staying, so I don't have to worry about coaching because that would have been a huge hit. But they now play 8 teams that are playoff teams next year. Like their schedule's so hard, so many things have to go right to get back there. I don't see it happening. I'm so sorry, Detroit, but I don't. Green Bay, on the other hand,
found another quarterback.
We now know who Bo Melton is, which took us all season to figure that out. But we have a young team. Jordan Love is so much better than I could have ever imagined. And this is not just bias. I mean, you guys can all admit it out there. He looked so good. There was something flipped in week 8 where he all of a sudden looked exactly like Aaron Rodgers, like Brett Favre. I'm so impressed with that draft pick. I deleted all my tweets yelling at the Packers for trading up for him. Who would tweet about that? It was dumb. But no, I feel very good about the Packers' future, and I'm worried about the Lions just because of the situation they're in. But
when the division odds come out next year, Detroit is going to be favored to win the division. You bring up like the hard schedule. Do you think the Packers could win that division? Like the Bears are going to be interesting what they do. If Minnesota brings Cousins back.
The Bears are a huge question mark.
Yeah,
like you said, Kirk Cousins and Justin Jefferson, if he's healthy all season now. The NFC North is such a great division, and it's progressively getting better other than Chicago. But it does, like Caleb Williams, I personally think the Bears are going to go with Caleb Williams.
I do too.
You just can't not. They tried out Justin. It didn't work. Like talk about a system quarterback with Brock Purdy. That's exactly what we're dealing with Chicago. You got to have a guy that fits your system. It could be honestly Drake May or Jaden Daniels, but I think you can't not get Caleb Williams. That's just not the case. So anyway, but it just depends on how quickly he'll evolve into what they need him to be in Chicago. And Green Bay is leading the pack there in the NFC North, I do believe. Did I think it was possible at the beginning of the season? No. But here we are.
It's going to be, you're right, that division next year is going to be really, really good.
So good.
All right, Annie, let's break down the Super Bowl. We got the Chiefs and the 49ers. Now, are you giving away your pick here with the red? Is that some Chiefs red, or do you like San Francisco?
No. Well, here's the situation. I don't like either team.
Okay.
But as a Packers fan, and I pose this question to Packers fans out there, it pains me to root for the 49ers, but the Chiefs, they're at 3 Super Bowls. We have 4. Do we want them tied with us? I mean, Mahomes already has passed Aaron Rodgers. Like, we don't have to worry about. Not that I don't even know if we worry about Aaron Rodgers anymore. But I think I have to go 49ers on this one, just to prevent another dynasty in football. We just finished with the Patriots. I don't want to deal with the Chiefs again. I just think for the sanity of America, I'm going to take one for the team, and I'm going 49ers.
Who do you think has a big game? You think it's a Debo game? Is it a CMC game? Do you think Kelsey, even though they lose, has a big game?
This was my pick of the week for a bet. Travis Kelsey has scored 3 or more touchdowns in every playoff game since 2019.
Wow.
It's plus 550 for him to score 2 touchdowns this game, 2 or more touchdowns. I think he's going to go off. Also, he's like we talked to him on opening night, and he's like, this energy is immaculate, and he's talking about, Taylor Swift and the Grammy, and he's like on cloud 9 right now. So I expect a big game out of Travis Kelce. Not too big, because we want the 49ers. But.
He's 15-1 to win Super Bowl MVP. Do you think that would be a bet? Would you take that? Or if the Niners win, do you like Purdy or somebody else?
I think Mahomes is a clear choice. So I can't go Travis Kelce, but yeah, I don't know. That's a tough one. What do you think on that?
I kind of like CMC.
Yeah.
If San Francisco wins, just because he's probably
it can't be
score.
Purdy. I don't think
so either. I think it's going to be Debo or McCaffrey, would be my guess. And then I think Kelce. You know what's interesting about Super Bowl MVP? The way that the vote works, 80% is like media writers. The other 20% is fan vote.
Is it really?
So the Swifties, if Travis has a big game, right?
I didn't think about that.
If Travis has a big game, they could be
Swifties, do the right thing here.
They could be out in full force. Yeah. Annie, this was awesome. It was great meeting you.
Great to meet you.
Enjoy the rest of your week. Absolutely. Annie Agor joining me here on Send It In, NFL correspondent at Stadium and content creator. All right, we are moving on now to going off the glass, talking some college basketball here on Send It In. We had a great day yesterday in our best bets. We had our dog of the day with Ole Miss. Our best bet was Houston in the first half, minus 11.5. So it was an awesome day. Louisville and Syracuse get going tonight, 7 o'clock Eastern time. Louisville's one of the worst teams, not only in the ACC, but Power 5 basketball. However, I do like the spot for them tonight against Syracuse is 8.5-point dogs. Louisville's coming off probably their best performance of the season. They beat Florida State 101-92, scored 101 points. Now they're going up against a Syracuse team who just dismissed one of their better players in Benny Williams. So they've been going through a lot this week. There's a lot of distractions, and they're getting the worst team in the ACC, right? So you're dealing with distractions, and it's not like you're playing a Duke or Carolina, so you throw all that out and you rally for one of the top teams in the conference. You're playing against Louisville. So you know what? I like Louisville plus 8.5. Maybe sprinkle some of that money line at plus 300 as well. Then we got the IBOB tonight. Iron Bowl of basketball, Bama and Auburn. Auburn favored by 5.5. The total 163.5. When this game was in Tuscaloosa a couple weeks ago, the total was the exact same at 163.5. Game ended up going under. The pace was there. In the game, both teams just kind of went through some lulls at times, and there wasn't as many fouls as I thought there would be. I would lean towards that over. I also like the full game over. I like the first half over at 77.5. I also like Auburn on the money line to win the game, minus 250. I'm going to parlay that with something else. I'll talk about that in a little bit, but don't really want to lay the 5.5. It's a rivalry game. Auburn is so good at home. It's one of the best environments in the SEC. Rarely do they lose in their own building. It's tough to beat a team twice. I think Bama loses tonight. I like Auburn to win the game. I'd look at the first half over and full game over as well. Then we got Creighton and Providence. Number 19 Creighton on the road tonight to face the Friars. This is an interesting spread. It opened at Creighton minus 1.5. Now it's up to Creighton minus 2.5. The total in the game, 144.5. Providence is really tough to beat at home. Really tough. Problem is they're missing their best player, Bryce Hopkins, who's been sidelined the last couple weeks. Creighton should win this game. I do think they win this game. Usually my rule is any game under 3 with the favorite. I normally just take the money line, so I'll take Creighton minus 140 to get the job done. Then my favorite total of the night is going to be the under in Mississippi State and Georgia. Bulldogs favored by 8.5. The total 144.5. Mississippi State had a tough week when they had to go to Oxford and play Ole Miss. Then they went to Tuscaloosa and played Bama. Their defense is really good, but they did not have a good week. Bama's got one of the best offenses in the country, and in that game, Ole Miss couldn't miss when they played. So I think right now Mississippi State's defense is a little bit inflated, just like this total is a little bit inflated. This probably should be in like the 138, 139 area against a Georgia team that's not that great on offense. I'll take the under 144.5 in Georgia and Mississippi State. And then finally, we got Nebraska and Wisconsin, Northwestern and Nebraska. Northwestern's favored by 5.5. The total 142.5. I like Northwestern in the game. This line's actually moved up now. It's 6.5 when I look at the live line. But again, much like Auburn, similar spread. I'm going to parlay these two games together with Auburn and Northwestern. I'll take Northwestern on the money line, Auburn in the money line, parlay them together. It's a minus 105. Favorite bet of the night. Don't really want to mess with either spread, but I feel really good about both those teams winning the game. So Louisville plus 8.5 tonight. Take some money line. I like Auburn on the money line, that first half over. I like Creighton on the money line, the under Mississippi State, Georgia. And then give me Northwestern with Auburn in a money line parlay. It's time to talk some golf. Let's do a little play 'em or fade 'em. Waste Management Open this week out in Phoenix. And I bring in my producer now, Shawnee Sharp. Sean, who's the first golfer that we got?
Peach, how we doing? The first golfer we got is the two-time winning champion of the Phoneix Open, Scottie Scheffler.
Yeah, Scotty, I mean, we've talked about it yesterday, the two-time defending champion. And this course, you can see why it fits up so well for him. You have to be an elite ball striker on this course. There are a lot of high-risk, high-reward holes, and you got to be a really good scrambler. Scotty might be the best in the world at both of those things. He's an insane ball striker, and he's a really good scrambler. The one area of weakness for him in his game is putting, but you don't have to be a great putter this week at TPC Scottsdale. Scotty, it's a short price at plus 500. We talked about it yesterday. Maybe you hold off a little bit and you wait for him to have struggle a little bit in the first round and bet him like plus 800, plus 900, but he's going to be in contention. Play on Scottie Scheffler.
Next guy we got here is another big name, Jordan Spieth.
Yeah, I'm fading Spieth this week. He's boom or bust at this course. He has missed the cut 3 of his last 6 times, and then the other 3 times he's finished in the top 10. So you really don't know what you're going to get with Spieth when he plays here. Hasn't been in the best of form, and with his odds at 16-1, he's tied for the 3rd lowest odds with Max Homa. Just don't think it's a great bet. Think there's better options. So I'm going to pass on Jordan Spieth this week and fade him.
The next guy I got here on the list for you, PJ, is a guy you played last week, Sung Jae Im.
Yeah, I'm going to play Sung Jae this week. Sung Jae has kind of been my guy this week. There's one every year in the PGA Tour where it's the same courses and it's usually the same golfers. And Sung Jae in this early West Coast swing, just these courses fit him. So I'm going to take Sung Jae once again. His last 4 times he's played here, he's finished in the top 23 of those times. Think you could have another good week. I'll play Sung Jae in.
Another guy that I got here on the list is when he's on, Justin Thomas.
He sure is, and he's going to be extremely popular this week. JT was one of the best golfers in the world. He's a 2-time major champion, went through a little bit of a stretch last year where he wasn't great, finished outside the FedEx top 75, I believe. So by no means had a Justin Thomas type year, but he's playing a little bit better to start this year, and this might be his best course. He has 6 straight top 20 finishes at this course. Think he has another one this week. So don't know if I'd pick him outright at 10-1. That price seems a little low, but getting him plus money, top 5, top 10, like that market much better for Justin Thomas. He's a play for me.
All right, next up here, we got Sam Burns. Are you feeling the burn here, PJ?
I'm not feeling the burn. Sean, the only Burns I'm feeling is Corbin Burns for the Orioles, but I'm not liking Sam Burns. I'm going to fade him. He's played here 5 times, and he's missed the cut 3 of those times. Again, much like Jordan Spieth with Sam Burns, he either finishes in the top 10 or he misses the cut completely. Course history on this course, it's the 4th most predictive year after year. So guys who play well here normally play well here year after year. And there are some guys who play well here every other year and then struggle a couple years. Burns is one of those guys. I'm laying off of him. He's a fade for me.
Next guy I got on the list here is Sahith Theegala.
Yeah, I'm going to play Sahith this week. This is the course. This is the event where he made a name for himself. He was awesome. He loves TPC courses. He finished 3rd here a couple years ago in 2022, had a chance to win. He finished 39th last year. There's some good value on Sahith. Everybody's kind of looking at the top of the leaderboard with some big names, but he loves the TPC courses and he loves playing at the Waste Management Open. Another guy who kind of feeds off the energy of the crowd, which you have to be able to do this week. It's the best environment of all of golf. There's 250,000 people at that golf course. It's the best show in golf, so I will play Sahith Theegala.
Next guy, I got another big name here, Ricky Fowler. Are you going to play or fade Ricky?
I'm going to fade Ricky this week, and if you would have told me that 2 years ago, I would have thought you were crazy because much like Justin Thomas, this is probably Ricky's best golf course. He's won here in the past. He has a ton of top 10 finishes, but recently he's missed the cut in his last couple events. And Ricky was so good at the second half of last year, right? Ricky was kind of going through what Jordan Spieth did for a little bit, where one of the top players in the world, and it took him a couple years to figure it out. For Ricky, it took him a little bit longer, but he finally got his game back. He almost won the U.S. Open, but he just hasn't been the same guy to start this year. This is a course that should get him back on the right track, but I'm not going to buy in. Even though the 50-1 is a little intriguing, I'm going to fade Ricky Fowler.
All right, last one I got here for you, Peach. The winner last week over at Pebble, and also the U.S. Open champion, Wyndham Clark.
I'm going to play Wyndham Clark this week. I talked about it yesterday. I think there's a great chance he could go back-to-back this week. I like the 28-1. This course fits him really well. He finished top 10 here last year. Long hitter, great ball striker, very accurate, and his scrambling is top tier. Wyndham Clark, good value this week at 28-1. I'm going to play him at the Waste Management Open. Let's go to Model Making Money now. Check in with Kate Constable joining me here on Send It In. Kate, great to see you. Again, what are the 5-star plays BetQL has for us today?
Hey, PJ. Yeah, 5-star play. Spurs and Heat over 225.5. The model loves that one. This number, 232. So you're getting 6.5 points of difference from the current number. Heat, they've been kind of an under team so far this season, but the Spurs are an over team. And Heat shooting from deep hasn't been great lately. I think that's going to start to turn around, especially with Terry Rozier now well integrated into this lineup. Their scoring is likely going to pick up a little bit more. So Heat over 225.5 for a 5-star.
Kate, decent slate tonight in the NBA. That Warriors-Sixers line has moved a little bit. It went from like a pick 'em to 4.5. You got some other interesting games. Do you have a best bet for tonight?
I do like the Warriors tonight against the Sixers. I mean, Tyrese Maxey showed up on the injury report. He's questionable with an illness, wasn't at shoot-around this morning. So I doubt he plays tonight. And without him, I mean, who's going to score for Philly at least enough to stay in this game with the Warriors? Tobias Harris, he's been better this season, but I don't think he can carry this team against a Warriors squad that when they get hot, they're pretty hot. Jonathan Kuminga has been fantastic lately for Golden State. With he and Draymond Green on the floor, I mean, this Warriors team looks completely different. Now, Draymond is questionable tonight. This is the front end of a back-to-back for the Warriors, so kind of got to wait and see what happens with Draymond. But either way, I think I'm going to have to play the Warriors. You can get them at 4.5 right now. That number has ticked up, so I'd probably grab that before it moves even more if Maxey is confirmed out. But this is a good spot for the Warriors. More momentum for them coming into this game. Feels like they've kind of hit their stride already. So I like that. I also like Scotty Barnes to go over 5.5 assists, and that's heavily juiced. So maybe you take an alt line. I think you can get good plus money for 8+ assists. Against the Charlotte Hornets, he's putting up huge numbers in this category. 7 assists earlier this year, 10 assists as well. The Hornets give up the most assists of any team in the league right now. And the Raptors rather, are pretty good at sharing the basketball. And that stems a lot of it from Scotty Barnes. So I'm playing his over assists tonight as well.
I like it. Yeah, good handicap on both of those. So, okay, we got the NBA trade deadline tomorrow. And from a betting perspective, like, it's pretty interesting, right? To maybe, if you get an inkling on, like, what team could make a move, you could get some good odds on them in some of these markets. Obviously, like the Suns, when they traded for Durant, their odds went crazy. I'm looking at the Lakers, and right now at BetMGM, they're minus 110 to make or minus 110 to miss the playoffs. A true 50-50, a coin toss. This isn't to make the play-in tournament. This is to make the playoffs or the quarterfinals, the 1-8. Obviously, LeBron's kind of been hinting at things on social media. We know the Lakers probably need to make a move. If you're looking at LA right now, would you bet them to make or miss the playoffs?
I think I would have to bet them to make the playoffs because with LeBron hitting at things, I would bet the Lakers didn't make any move before the deadline tomorrow. I'm not sure it's going to be a move that, like Kevin Durant, where it, skyrockets the Lakers odds, but I feel like they will make some tiny little tweak. And when you look at the standings right now, the top 6 likely aren't going to shift too much. The Warriors are likely to sneak into the postseason in some category. They're sitting in 11th right now. But I just have a hard time believing that the Lakers are going to fall out completely. Maybe the Mavericks stumble a little bit more, the Pelicans, the Jazz, although the Jazz have been playing well. I don't see the Lakers and LeBron allowing this team to slip out of the play-in completely and miss that opportunity, especially just with his age and everything. You saw what the Lakers did in the play-in tournament. So when the in-season tournament rather, when they're motivated and wanting to win, they put a pretty good product out there. It just, that hasn't carried over to the regular season. I think we might see weeks coming to this roster. So I would still have to bet them to make the postseason.
Yeah, fascinated to see what they do on the deadline tomorrow. Kate, before I let you go, we were talking about the Super Bowl yesterday. You said you love your Iowa guy, George Kittle, in the game. when we look at novelty props, right? Like, this is what's awesome about the Super Bowl. You can bet national anthem. You can bet coin toss. Yesterday, I had Minty Bets on, and we were talking about the Gatorade color. I mean, there are so many different things. If you look at the novelty prop bets market, is there anything that you like for the Super Bowl?
Yeah, I like the Gatorade color as well, PJ. And I might go a little different here. Like, maybe it's Gatorade, maybe it's not. Maybe it's water. We know that both of these teams are going to have water on their sidelines, likely in one of those big jugs. I know typically it's always a Gatorade that gets poured, but there's also that like white Arctic Mountain, whatever, cherry glacier flavored Gatorade. That's kind of the white clear. That could be a possibility too. So you're getting that at 12-1 at BetMGM for it to be water or clear. Otherwise, orange, which is the favorite this year, I think that could also be a safer option for those that want to bet the Gatorade color, because that was the color Gatorade that the Chiefs were drinking and poured on Andy Reid when they won the Super Bowl against the 49ers in 2019. So maybe they're a little superstitious, wanting to keep things the same, have that same color Gatorade. So orange and clear might split a little bit of like half a unit or something in between those.
I like it. I mean, Kate, look, they're in Vegas, right? So you got to pace yourself. You know, you got to drink some water maybe after the game, and then you go out and celebrate. So we'll see. Kate Constable joining me here on Send It In. Kate, great stuff as always. We'll talk to you later in the week. And if I don't, enjoy the Super Bowl.
Thanks, PJ. You too. Have fun in Vegas.
All right, appreciate it. For those people who want to continue to bet but don't have the time to research each individual game, you need to download the BetQL app. It ranks each game on a 1 to 5 star scale based on its unbeatable analysis from spreads and over-unders to player props. Stay up to date and bet confidently with BetQL's help. Time to wrap the show now with PJ's plays here on Send It In. We got about 2.5 minutes left, so any best bets, any questions, comments that you guys have, go to twitch.tv/BetQL, YouTube /Odyssey Sports. Let us know anything that you have. Again, the prop block, how we start PJ's plays. We've been giving out a prop in the Super Bowl. I'm going to one of the novelty props. I like the 49ers to call the first time out in the Super Bowl at -115. It's -115 each way for the Chiefs or 49ers. My thinking for this, Kansas City's got Mahomes, a veteran quarterback who's playing in his 4th Super Bowl. They got Andy Reid, veteran head coach who's coached in plenty of Super Bowls. Then on the other side, you have Brock Purdy, who's Mr. Irrelevant, still a young guy, only in his 2nd year with ultra-conservative Kyle Shanahan. If I had to bet on a market that's 50-50, I think the odds are better that San Francisco would call the timeout first. So I'll take them -115 as my prop block. Wisconsin is going to be my stay away game, -5.5 at Michigan. This is a tricky spot. Michigan is so bad this year, guys. It's a good thing they won the national championship in football, because they ain't winning the national championship in basketball under Juwan Howard. Wisconsin's coming off a tough loss against Purdue. Is that still lingering with them as they face the worst team in the Big Ten? It looks too easy to take Wisconsin in this game, so I'm going to stay away. My dog of the day, we've hit these both days we've been here in Vegas. I think we're going to go 3 for 3. It's an ugly one, but we're taking Louisville +8.5 against Syracuse. Again, Syracuse has some distractions right now. Benny Williams was dismissed from the team. And if you're Syracuse, like, if you have distractions, the way you want to get past that is with Duke or Carolina coming into town. You don't want Louisville coming into town. Louisville just scored 101 against Florida State. They're coming off their best game of the season. Think there's a chance they can win the game potentially. I'd look at a +300 money line, but my dog of the day is going to be Louisville +8.5. Shawnee Sharp's going with Jonathan Kuminga over 19.5 points. He was good to him on Monday. It's coming right back to him on Wednesday. And then my best bet, I'm going to go with Northwestern, Auburn, moneyline parlay, -105. Hate fading my Bama boys, but you know what? As you guys know watching this show, if I think my team's going to lose, I tell you. And I think Bama's going to lose tonight. I don't think they're sweeping Auburn. I don't think they're winning in that arena. That place is going to be on fire tonight. And Nebraska is one of those typical teams in college basketball. Great at home, terrible on the road. Think Northwestern wins. Thinks it's a good price at -105. That's my best bet, moneyline parlay with those two teams. To recap, best bets for today. 49ers to call the first time out in the Super Bowl. That is my prop block. Wisconsin, Michigan's going to be my stay away game. Louisville, my dog of the day against Syracuse, and Northwestern Auburn, moneyline parlay, my best bet. That'll do it for us on Send It In. Thanks again to Annie Agor for joining me. Kate Constable as well. Jared Smith joins me tomorrow right here, top of the show on Send It In. Have a great rest of your day, and You Better You Bet coming up from Radio Row, 3 o'clock Eastern Time, 12 o'clock Pacific. Make sure you tune in to that. We'll see you guys tomorrow.